It's going to be a daily experience video. Um, Nowadays, I have this practice of spending 2 hours with God in the morning and 2 hours at night. I don't say that you should do that. It's just something that I feel like doing it in this phase of my life. And I don't know how many things to do I have at other times of the day, how busy I will get, so I just make sure to have this. Um, and there are times when I can fall very far away from the presence of God in my mind. Of course, it's a very subjective experience feeling far from God, but there are times when my mind is very distant from that reality, that I'm one with Him. And usually I wake up to that. Like, it happens so rarely that I wake up to the presence of God. So every time I start my silent time, I'm just like, I feel so far away. It feels like I have to start everything all over again, which is not true, because then all of a sudden I find myself in whatever that means. But yeah, it's kind of funny how these things happen with contemplation. What I love doing these days is having an instrumental background music with some nature scenes and nature videos. Um, and yeah, it helps calming my brain down. Um, the reason why I love mornings and nights, because my mind is not that active. Like, it's not active yet or already not active. So yeah, it's just, I love this free space in my head and love giving it to God, because I'm closer to peace and silence in my mind at those times. And I love to use this natural thing. um, so I was like, I was listening to these songs and all of that, and I had a few days when I felt always verse and verse every time I was listening to, every time I gave this silent time to God. And it was like, what's going on? And I have experienced that many times before, so I wasn't freaking out, but it was still not really pleasant to experience that. And last morning I woke up and I still felt distant and all that, and I just love that I don't have to do anything, and it's okay if I don't feel close and all that. So I just love the peace that it's just, I can just be here even if I don't feel anything specific. Actually, I don't expect myself to feel anything specific nowadays, but it still can feel strange for me if I feel worse or my mind gets even busier during that time. But last morning it was like I couldn't silence my mind at all, and then just I was okay with it, and then I just found myself in the silence. So yeah, I just accepted the fact that I can't be silent, and then I was all of a sudden. And there is something like falling deeper and deeper into peace. And it's not a feeling, so I can't really describe it, but you just know that you haven't been that peaceful ever. before. And it was like, oh, I like this. I want to stay here. And then I had a few things to do, so I just had my lunch, and lunch is the first meal I have. Don't follow me in that, but this is something I do. I give my morning to God, like, completely. Yeah, so I started to do my stuff, and I had some things to do in the afternoon, and all of a sudden, all of them had to be cancelled. And I was like, okay, what else could I do instead to use my time? And then I felt like Jesus was telling, no, nothing actually. You enjoy that, please? You can go deeper. So I had my afternoon spent with literally nothing, like watching nature videos and being silent. Yeah, I can't tell you what happens there because nothing happens there. But I don't know. Something way deeper than sensation happens in those times. And I was listening to a brain scientist called Joe Dispenza about like how thinking patterns work at times during the afternoon, and I was like, all of a sudden God just told me like, this is what you started to believe as a child, and you taught yourself to believe it, and you reinforced it, and you made your mind practice it a lot. And this is a lie that affects so many areas of your life. And first I was like skeptical, like, oh, are you sure? I won't say the particular lie because that would make people worry about me. But yeah, it was something bad, something really bad. And this was something that every now and then came to the surface, even as I practiced the presence of God. This bad thought, and I never understood like how could this happen, that I can have such bad feelings during my time with God. And then I felt like, okay, I have the power to stop it. Now I see how it happened, how it came, what it came from, and I no longer will cooperate with it. I don't really like making a vow that I will never think that or never do that, because I'm not powerful enough to keep those vows. This is my experience. But I had this realization that even if I will have those thoughts again, I will never believe completely that this is true. Like, I will never agree with them 100% that this is me and this is my personality. Now I see that it was something that I developed in me, and I will no longer develop it any further. Yeah, and it was like I completely became aware of my responsibility of in building this thing up in me, and there was no judgment about it. I felt no shame and guilt about it. It was just like, oh, actually, I can end this. It was like such a sense of power to it. And I don't know whether it's inner healing, deliverance, or I don't know what happens there. I just knew that this is over. And I also felt like I don't really want it to be over, like this bad thing. And as soon as I realized like there is something in me doesn't want to let go of it, I was so sure that I want to let go of it. So it like even motivated me more that this is the time when it has to end. So yeah, there was such a joy of it, and then I went deeper into peace after that. And what was even more suspicious is that I just had no experience of any kind. I just liked watching the clouds from my window. And what I really love about the presence of God is just like nothing changes and everything changes sometimes. Like you sit in the same chair, looking through the same window, seeing the same landscape, and everything is just unexplainably pleasurable. And I love it so much. Like, yeah, these are clouds, and they are so much fun. And I love when my sensation shifts that much. Um, yeah, it's kind of funny. Like everything seems so possible. Like I'm gonna fulfill my everything in my destiny, and I'm gonna be the closest man to God alive, and I'm also gonna be billionaire. That's how it feels like. Like every exaggerated, super good, too good to be true things seem so logical and self-explanatory and no challenge. So it's just, I love when my mind shifts there. And it's not like I'm not aware what happened. I'm so aware that this is something like I never thought before. But I also know that if my mind can be in that state of positivity, but also it's like being in another reality actually, then all the times when I think realistic is not that much truthful. Like maybe realistic is not that highest version of truth. If I can think like that and it looks logical. I also know that I'm not able to sustain that state of mind and that kind of like awareness in me. I don't even have to. Like, this is not a task. It's not a matter of decision either. Anyway, it was so great, like falling deeper and deeper into peace. And then I was like really, I got to the point when I really had to go to meet my friends, old minister friends, pray together and stuff. And I was like, no way I would move anywhere. And I stayed a little longer and I hate being late. Like this is something I never do. As much as I can. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be late today. Like I just don't care. And after a while I still like managed to leave the house and I went there and I could even go to the shop and arrange everything I was planning to before the presents hit. And the funny thing was that I could still do everything and get there on time. Like, I don't want to say it was supernatural, but surely not something that mathematically works. And I was surprised, but also not surprised because I experienced it a few times that every time you give your time to God, you just it works like sowing and reaping, or even more crazy. Like it just you waste your time on God and it gets multiplied. I couldn't believe that everything I still had time for everything I wanted to do. Um, yeah. So I was like so much in another state of mind when I was traveling. Like my headphones were not really functioning, and the sound was making funny noises, and I was listening to worship, but I still had to. I couldn't stop myself, and I was like, okay, Abby, you meet your friends. Don't kiss them everywhere and hug them all every time you see them during the meeting, because maybe they are not in the same state of mind as you are, and they won't get it. And actually, it was such a fun meeting. We talked about a great time when we were part of a youth mission and told crazy testimonies to each other, like of healings and of crazy manifestations of the Holy Spirit from those times when we were ministering together. And there was such a presence of God in these sharings. I loved it. I went home so motivated, like so charged. I'm not a very enthusiastic person. Like I'm not really easily hyped. Most of the time, I just don't care. And I was so motivated coming home. Like I was like I would do anything and everything. Um, so it was late, so I spent the rest of my time with God, and I was like, oh, this is the only thing I want to do now. And I also had to like do some arrangements for a conference, and that was the time when I like started to worry a little bit about things. And it was so funny that I spent like 2 days in that kind of awareness and peace, and worrying seemed so distant and unnatural. Like you take your time to teach your brain to think bad and be in bondage, and it's effective, but the kingdom's things are way more effective. Like I just spent 2 days not worrying, and all of those thinking patterns seemed far distant and unrealistic and illogical. So, as if decades of my life had been reversed. So, like, yeah, it took me like long years to teach my brain to have those terrible thinking patterns, and it only took like 2 days for God to like make all those thoughts distant and yeah, and not and unnatural. I loved it. Yeah, so I continued this today. I have no explanations for that, why I'm in that state, but I really love it. I also don't plan to sustain it because I'm not able to, but I'm really thankful for God for it. And everything I got, take it. All the joy and peace and very less things and freedom and insight that I got in these 2 days. Just receive it. You are so loved. I'm really honored that you receive God through me. God bless you.